How you doing?
All right,
Following me around again?
as always.
Well, you know, you are your own best prep.
Uh-huh.
I say that all the time, and I think about that a lot, especially when certain things happen. And it was actually the announcement about McCall's that set me off here today. For those of you who aren't aware, McCall's is a company that makes patterns for sewing. They're really the last company making patterns, and they're closing down. And technology can be a wonderful thing. You know, advancements in computers and technology and all of this other stuff. Problem with it is people are inherently lazy. You have to want to advance. You have to want to do better. Human beings have a choice, and they always choose poorly when it comes to improving themselves and improving their environment. You know, you never saw a tree that sat there and said, I'm done growing. I'm tired of this. People will do that, though. People will use technology as a crutch. It provides a lot of convenience, but at the same time, because people are lazy about basically everything, if they have the opportunity to do so, most people are. There are some people that love to get their hands dirty, but that's a very small percentage of human beings. Because of that, all of those skills that mankind has spent thousands of years developing since the onset of the Industrial Revolution have been slowly slipping away. Things that even a couple of decades ago most people knew how to do, nobody can do anymore. And the things that 20 years ago people didn't know how to do, back in the 50s everybody could do it, and so on and so on. Since the Industrial Revolution, again, the onset of machines taking over certain jobs, making things easier, all of those skills that man spent thousands of years developing have been downgraded to a handful of hobbies. And those hobbies, those obscure things that people think you're goofy if you do now, like knowing how to sew, knowing how to fish without all the fancy equipment, knowing how to read a map, simple stuff, knot tying. You know, I see people walking around and you look at their feet and it looks like they don't know how to tie their shoes properly. And guess what? They don't. All these things. Cooking. Cooking isn't throwing something in a microwave. Cooking isn't boiling some water, which, by the way, people screw up.
Yeah.
Okay? But real, actual cooking skills. There's not too many people that can do it anymore. It's a hobby now. It's a hobby. You watch reality shows to watch people cook. You don't cook.
Yeah.
You know?
Now they send you the pre-made food and they tell you how to just warm it up.
Yeah, you just assemble it.
Yeah.
You assemble it like it's a kit. All these skills that people spent thousands of years honing, people can't do anymore. People carry a knife. They don't know how to use it. You know, 100 years ago, they could use it for utilities, for defense, for offense. People carry a knife now, they really don't know how to use it. It's like if you had to pull your knife out and fight with it, could you do it? Have you ever practiced that? Have you ever trained how to knife fight? Have you ever actually practiced using your knife in a utility purpose so that you don't injure yourself? Can you work with manual tools at all? Or is that a hobby too? People that do woodworking by hand, hobby. You know, sewing, hobby. Knitting, hobby. Everything's a freaking hobby now. And it's the truth. I mean, you can laugh at it, and I can laugh at it too. It's the truth.
Yeah.
I'm not mad
Canning.
at you for... Yeah, canning. I'm not mad at you for laughing, because it is funny but sad at the same time.
Yeah.
And so, like I point out, and I often say, you are your own best prep. Don't just be the prepper that owns stuff. Pick up some of these hobbies and do the best you can, because the more it becomes a hobby, sometimes the more expensive it can become too.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because I do sewing, and I grew up, I keep saying my parents, my mother was a dressmaker and a pattern maker. and she can just look at an outfit
Yeah.
and make it. And she worked in clothing factories. She worked for costume businesses. But that's what she did for a living. And I remember going to fabric stores, and fabric was cheap. Now
It's very
you gotta
expensive.
buy $20 for a yard of fabric. And I remember patterns, and they had a section with cabinets full of just patterns, and you go through the book and you find the one that you want, and it was like 5 or 6. You had McCall, Simplicity, Vogue, Butterick, and like some others.
Sure.
But you had a lot of different pattern companies. And now you can't find a pattern because you can go online, you can type it in, and you can go on Etsy and buy a pattern and stuff like that. I knew people, my dad, he could field dress. They would kill a deer.
Sure.
They would kill pigs, and then they do it.
That's right, the alligators.
Oh yeah,
I
him and
remember.
my granddad with that
Yeah.
darn alligator, turtles. If
And
it
it's
was
not
in the
easy
yard,
not easy
no.
to dress an alligator,
No.
guys.
But if it ran across the yard, they ate it, and they cleaned it themselves, and butchered it and stuff. And now all of that's a hobby.
It's hobbies.
And you can go to bushcrafting classes and pay hundreds of dollars for a weekend.
To learn how to start a fire without a lighter,
Yeah.
and stuff like
And
that.
to make primitive tools and to build a campsite. And canning is expensive, just to buy the
Yeah.
jars. And growing up, we took the food out of the garden and pears off of the tree, and we canned it.
Yeah,
And that's what you.
that's what you did.
But
And that wasn't
it
even
is
that long
expensive.
ago. It
No,
wasn't even that long ago.
no.
And it's all these natural skills that we've spent, again, hundreds and even thousands of years developing. It's just gone. People don't care.
No, but it's things that you need to know, because if everything went down tomorrow, all the power went
right.
out. The food that you have, how long is it going to last? And it's when you do canning, they tell you, oh, it's only good for 6 months to a year. That's a lie. That stuff
is.
lasts for years.
You did it if you got a nice tight vacuum seal and it's in a cool, dry place.
It lasts
It'll
for
last
years,
for a very
believe
long
me.
time.
And if something happened and you caught a deer, you killed a deer, do you know how to clean it? You can't just skin it and cook it. It's a proper
And
way.
make a mess. And should you even kill the deer, how many of you are you? You're wasting a resource.
Yeah.
But you got to weigh that option too. Do I have the ability to smoke this and save it, or if I kill it, am I just wasting it because I'm going to get 2 meals out of it and throw the rest out?
Yeah.
Things
It's
that
a
people
lot.
don't
I
think
mean,
about.
if you needed clothes, can you take a curtain or a sheet and make yourself a coat or something to just keep yourself warm, a pair of pants or
Yeah.
something like that? Those are things you have to know just in case something happened. And if nothing happens, you still got the skill. You still can do it. Do you need a sewing machine, or can you sew by hand?
If there was like and that's hypothetical, of course,
Yeah.
because I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if there was a big solar flare and the whole planet got shut off and it didn't come back up again for 20 years,
Yeah.
who's going to be left? Because there's only a handful of people that can do this stuff, and everybody else is going to get hung out to dry,
Yeah.
including a lot of preppers who
Yeah.
just own a lot of stuff and don't know how it works, don't know how to use it. I get on that a lot.
And
it's
we
my
talked about
soapbox.
that before and
It's my
made a
little
video
soapbox,
about
but-
it, because
Yeah.
it is the truth. You have maps, you have guns, you have knives, you have ham radios, you have all this stuff. You have first aid kits. You
Yeah.
don't know how to use none of it.
Yeah.
It's
unfortunate.
important that you know how to use it and learn stuff that was common every day 50, 100 years ago.
Not that we're so perfect, 'cause
No.
we're always still learning too. We don't,
Hey.
and there are things that we know that we probably need to brush back up on too.
Yeah.
You forget.
Yeah,
You forget if you don't get your hands in it.
yeah.
So that applies to us as well.
I
and
know.
Everybody.
And I know one of the big things that we always talk about is the expense, because it is.
It is.
Because, again, it has turned into a hobby, so it is expensive.
That's right.
And we don't have all that kind of money, but it's things that we can do just to keep ourselves in practice, So,
You know what it makes me think of? I want to say it's the new Outer Limits, the 80s version of the Outer Limits.
oh yeah, it is a new
And
Outer
there
Limits.
was a guy, and it ties in really tightly with what's going on right now in the world with with cell phones and everything else. Everyone in the planet, they have like a cell phone device, but it's wired right into their head. So if they need to know how to do something, they think about it. The computer it
Feeds
networks
them
to
in.
them, feeds them, and they follow the instructions. Everyone, doctors, everybody has this feed. But there's a guy who is the focus of attention in this story, main character, I guess, who he's allergic to the hardware, and he can't use it. So he just sits around reading books all day, and he hangs out at the library, and everybody picks on him like he's got like some mental disability. Oh, you're a loser. Oh, look at this chump. He can't get wired. And then the grid crashes. Nothing is working. And everybody's completely helpless. They're like dribbling idiots, except for him.
Yeah.
Because he actually did everything instead of just being told what to do. And a great example of that, actually, in modern times is GPS.
Yeah.
Because you remember how, in the old days, you had to study a map. So you knew where you were going. Nowadays, it's like you're driving, turn left at such and such. Okay, left. Turn right at such and such. Okay, right. And then if you had to do it again, you don't know, because all you did was listen to directions and follow it. But you didn't really pay attention.
Yeah.
And you could follow that route 50 times and still not really know, because you never paid attention. You just listened to the little voice telling you which direction to turn. I've seen that.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be that hard to actually pay attention and look for landmarks and pick it up, but people don't know how to do it anymore. They've forgotten how.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy or girl, as the case may be, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just the point, just throwing it out there. Hone those skills, find those hobbies, and yeah, some of it is expensive, but you could still make it work. You could still sew without buying a $3,000 machine.
Yeah.
You could still
But that $3,000 machine is nice. But you can go to Walmart and
Sure.
get an $80 machine, or learn how to sew by hand. It is.
Nobody
it
sews
is
by
tough,
hand
yeah.
anymore.
It
Nobody
is
sews
tough,
by
but
hand anymore.
I mean, it's time consuming. But,
Yeah,
but I mean, hey.
If the grid goes down, you'll have all the time in the world.
I know. Yeah, you will. Do some canning. Learn
Yeah.
how to can. Even if you only do tomatoes or peaches or something like that. Even if you only do one can a year, just to keep the skill up so you can remember how to do it. Because the time to learn it is not when everything falls apart.
Yeah, trial by fire is tough.
Yeah.
And basic gardening skills. I mean, 100 years ago, anybody could at least get a little vegetable garden going. They knew enough. Hobby, again, people don't know what to do. People don't know what to do, and it's not that simple. It's not always that easy.
No, and you can do a little raised garden in your backyard. We got a raised garden in our backyard.
Yeah.
And
Keep it simple.
keep something,
Just so
keep
you
it
know.
simple. Just stuff that we know we're going to eat. That's what we have. And we got that growing, and that's what we eat.
You live in an apartment, you can do it in a hanging basket.
In buckets.
There are kits for that, to
Yeah.
do it in your apartment, because I know a lot of preppers, they're not living out in the sticks.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of money. I get that. Most people who are preppers are actually on a budget, living in an apartment.
Yeah.
Somewhere in a major city and just hanging on. And you can just so that you know what to do.
Yeah.
You get a window box.
Yeah.
And just experiment with it. And I guess I don't know what more I can say. I was just thinking about that, because it came to my mind about, wow, you know what, they're not even going to make patterns anymore.
No.
And all these used to be viable, important skills for life are just gone.
Yeah.
And I would hate to see what would happen if the whole world went to shit and there was almost no one around who knew how to do these things anymore.
Yeah.
And if that's all, what more can I say but stay frosty, folks, and thanks for watching.